What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are hanging out with Rob Late. He is an electronic pop producer from the UK. He has amassed a very loyal social media following, posting little videos of him doing breakdowns of production techniques, also him just sampling random instruments like a toilet paper roll on a bucket and turning it into really cool drum sounds. He's a great sound designer. I think he makes really dope music. Over the past year, he's gone from producing with bedroom artists to working with major artists like the Chainsmokers, Sasha Sirota, credits with Justin Bieber, Pooh Bear, Skrillex. He's gained sponsorships from major brands that I love, like Universal Audio, Head Audio, Novation, Arturia, many others. I had a great chat with Rob. We talk about a lot of different things, including how to create your own sound with organic samples, how to organize those samples. He talks about imposter syndrome and staying focused on your vision. He talks about effectively using social media to reach your goals. We also talk about how sometimes your best take can be on your iPhone. I really enjoyed our conversation. Make sure you check the links in the show notes. Give Rob a follow. He's a great guy. Before we jump into the episode, just want to give you a reminder, if you want to be the first to get new episodes, win new gear and plugins, and just get some free occasional downloads, join the newsletter. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/newsletter. Or if you want to join the Discord server, meet me, hang out, talk production tips and tricks and other shenanigans, then go to liveproducersonline.com/discord. Quick thanks to everybody that entered the music producer giveaway that I announced a few episodes ago. We already announced the 5 winners, so if you didn't win this time, stay tuned. I'm sure we'll do another one in the future. Much love to all of you listening. Thanks in advance for liking, subscribing, spreading the word of the podcast. I appreciate everybody. And without wasting time, let's jump into this episode with Rob Late. And I appreciate you joining the podcast. I found you on Instagram, actually. I was just aimlessly scrolling, and I saw your video. I forget which one it was, but I was like, damn, this guy's an amazing sound designer, and you've got some like really fun, like random videos. Your most recent one I thought was really cool. You took like a paper towel roll tube, and you like smacked it on a bucket. You just hit a bucket, and you turned it into a full song, and it was wild.
Yeah. I know that sometimes the videos can be a bit stupid, but I sort of set out to prove that you don't need to have so much gear and so many synths and so many different things, because if you know your DAW properly or just processing in general, then you sort of can get the most out of it. And I having accidentally gained a following, someone asked me, like, do you feel like you have any responsibility now to people? And initially I just thought, no, it's just for fun, really. And I thought, actually, if there was one thing that I would like to impart on younger producers especially, is that you don't have to be sold these amazing plugins by these producers that have been paid a lot of money to say, if you want this sound, you have to buy this plugin. And there's some like poor 15-year-old kid spending like $100 on this plugin that is just like a chorus, a phaser, and a saturator in one. So I guess maybe that's a useful thing to help people understand. I'm not too sure, but it's fun. It's supposed to be just a bit of fun, but I appreciate that you found them entertaining in some way. Yeah,
for sure. You've got like this one face that you always make in every video where you just like stare the camera down like real intensely.
Yeah. I used to wear sunglasses, and like it used to be a lot goofier, and then my girlfriend was like, just take yourself a tiny bit more seriously, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. I probably should actually.
That's funny. Yeah, my camera just froze up. Give me 1 second. Probably just going to switch cameras. That way we're not battling this all day. I will never buy another GoPro as long as I live.
No, it's well, I suppose they aren't really, or the wide angle is useful, but it's not really ideal, is it, for streaming, or is it a common thing?
It has 2 different modes. It has like a wide angle and a narrow angle, but I find that I'm using a capture card, the Elgato Cam Link, which you could use with almost any camera as a webcam, basically. And it, for whatever reason, it just keeps dropping out or freezing, and there's some kind of weird little like ghost in the computer that just doesn't like it for some reason. I don't know. I'm more of an audio than a video person, so I probably can't intelligently speak more on this topic.
Yeah, no, same here. I'm taking my sort of streaming setup a bit more seriously now, because before, well, I still have got just some standard webcam from Amazon, and having done more sort of video calls and classes and things, I thought, shall I up the production value? And I thought, same as my videos on Instagram, it's all done with my phone. So I thought people like the sort of DIY accessibility angle of it. But then because I did one-to-one classes with producers and then group classes, then the next phase is to record a bunch of pre-recorded classes to then put on my store. Nice. And for that, I've been told you really should get like a good camera and sort the audio out. And I'm just thinking, more things to do, more hassle.
I think for like selling some kind of production, like watch at your own pace course, that makes sense. There's like almost this perceived value of like, I paid for this, rather than something free on social media. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke out of my butt, but it makes sense to me. And I think having that like iPhone like quality on social media, it just makes it seem more personal and more real and natural for people. So that works to your advantage, I think, in that sense.
I'm sort of so used to the to enjoying the bad quality, because all the defects on your skin don't show up with bad quality. But then I've got a videographer coming in to shoot the 2 different angles for the videos with his good cameras, and I'm not used to being so exposed. So it'll be an interesting time filming all that stuff, you know. But
well, now we've got a million filters to get rid of all the wrinkles and like the tired bags under your eyes when you wake up early in the morning. And making TikTok
I'm pretty sure
videos.
that I have some beauty thing on here now, some sort of, I hope I do, otherwise, you know.
Well, you look great right now in real life, so
thank you very much.
You're doing great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So do you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I was browsing your website, just stalking you earlier, and I saw that you have been sponsored by Universal Audio and Arturia. Arturia sponsors this podcast. I love their tools. Their collection, their V collection is amazing. I think I saw you use that as well.
Yeah.
Also, I'm in the market for new headphones, and I saw you were sponsored by headphones.
Oh, right. So I haven't got their headphones, but I've got their monitors.
Do you love their monitors?
Yes, I'd never heard of them before. And I was sort of taken over by, like, I'd used Genelex for years, and everyone's heard of, like, Adam Audio and Barefoots and things like that. And I tested out, like, it's quite a hassle, because there's no point in going into an audio store and listening to speakers, because it isn't your room, it just seems pointless. And so I managed to get all these companies to send me various speakers. Someone told me to reach out to Head, and I'd never heard of them, but all my mix engineer friends were like, ask Head as well. Got them in, and then tried them out, and just for some reason they just blew everything out of the water. And maybe it's my room, or maybe it's the way I hear things, but it just surprised me, because it's so easy to get invested in bigger names that you know, and it's like, you know, you'd rather buy an iPhone than a random other phone.
Yeah.
But if you can separate yourself from brand names, sometimes it can be useful. And I was so surprised. And now I've got these very odd-looking monitors on my desk that look like CCTV cameras.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about Head, so I was curious to get your thoughts on them as well. And that's a good point. There's so many DIY speaker music companies out there now. Even instruments like guitars, like people make their own guitars all the time now. It's a thing. There wasn't a lot of that going on, I think, like a decade or two ago. And now it seems like there's so many hidden gems out there of different companies. So brand name doesn't always matter. Yeah,
exactly. And like, I do understand that brand names do offer like a bit of confidence when you're purchasing stuff. But I think because I'm trying to focus on hearing better and listening better and mixing better, I've sort of combined them with the SonarWorks, you know, the like speaker calibration.
Yes, and, actually, we just did a giveaway with them. They gave away 10 of their reference microphones. And
nice. Yeah. It was very odd, very strange to get used to, because I've always bought monitors. Like, as a producer, I feel like I'm only now realizing like the disciplines of production, mixing, and mastering are 3 different skill sets with like 3 different types of equipment needed to really understand what's going on. And so I would just go to a session, we'd whack some speakers anywhere and just record, and the whole point of the session was to make the song. And then, so now I'm used to speakers that lie to you a bit, and they give you a bit more bass, and they create the vibe quicker in the room for producers. But now I'm sort of edging more towards flat, honest monitors to really understand what's going on. And it's hard, because they sound worse in a much better way, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, I would rather have speakers that lie to me and make me work for it than something that's just like, I kind of feel that way. I'm not going to name names on this podcast because I don't want to get in trouble later if they sponsor the podcast. But there's some good companies out there. The HS8s, I think, are a perfect example of a really flat speaker that doesn't always sound great, but it's very honest. So I love that.
Yeah, I haven't quite got to the level of or the interest level perhaps of having a second pair of like NS10s or mix cubes or something just to like hear them in a not in a bad environment, but they're supposed to, where all the mids are accentuated and you're supposed to reference on different monitors. But I'm like 90% production, so I feel like I can sort of explore that OCD level of professional mixing later on, because it's too I'm not quite there yet when it comes to my like mixing interests. But
I don't know, man. Like, your mixes sound great, especially because most people are listening through like your mini videos on a phone, which is not the ideal place to listen to music in the first place. But they always sound really good. So whatever you're doing,
thanks, man.
It's working. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. I mean, we've been already jumping into some like nerdy music gear stuff, but maybe share some about your background, your music background. Like, how'd you get into music? And we could talk more about other stuff.
Well, I was just massively into rock music and heavy guitar and bands like System of a Down. I used to love, and
my mom hated that band, and I used to blast it all the time.
Yeah. It was just like Darren Malakian, the guitarist from that band, and things like Black Label Society. I used to love like heavy rock music, and I even bought like, I remember getting my dad to buy me some EMG pickups for the like Zakk Wylde uses to like get his harmonics and squeals and stuff. So I was really into that, and I just sort of grew up in a dozen bands, just playing in bands, and ended up being like a songwriter for most of the bands that I was in. And I got kind of annoyed at all the responsibility of organizing everyone and writing all the songs. And so I eventually went down from like a 5-piece band to a 3-piece band, and that was too much to organize, and I felt like I was taking it more seriously than other people. And then I went to a duo, and I still couldn't be bothered to organize one other person who wasn't as enthusiastic as I was. And then I ended up being on my own, and I thought, I can be a songwriter. How difficult can it be to record a vocal and a guitar, and maybe I can just sort of send my songs out to people and try and get a publishing deal or something. And then I realized, actually producing's quite fun. And so I thought, I'll put an organ in here, or I'll put a pad in here. How do I do that? And I just ended up getting obsessed with it. I have like sort of OCD tunnel vision with these kinds of things, and I just couldn't stop learning about stuff. And in an attempt to like maybe get a publishing deal or something, I just took to Instagram, but then realized I was probably better at production than I was at songwriting, or the ear anyway. And so I just took to social media to try and push myself out there, and haven't really stopped since.
Hey, sounds like a good direction. I had a similar story growing up playing with a band, and the guitarist would show up like 3 hours late to every practice, and I was just kind of like, I could probably do better just doing my own thing right now. So I've heard that story a lot on this podcast for producers.
Yeah, I feel like it's obviously it's important to like have fun and enjoy the music and enjoy being with your friends, but I think even then I was like, well, I want to make something of this, so we have to rehearse a lot, and we have to, I was booking all the gigs, all the shows, and organizing all the set lists and stuff, and I think I sort of like to only rely on myself, really. Like I've sort of I've had managers in the past for production, but I prefer to be on my own, if that doesn't sound too pathetic.
No, it doesn't sound pathetic at all. I mean, I think there is like a level of success that comes with being able to own your project and have that control. For me, I also am like really ADD, so I'm all over the place, so it helps to have somebody else as a manager role to do stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel you. Hey guys, just wanted to take a second and let you know this episode is sponsored by LANDR for a good reason. I have fallen in love with their AI mastering service. Even if it's not for an official song release, if you just want to create a demo to pitch to a label or to a friend or for sync licensing, their AI mastering service makes it crazy easy to take your song, get a good rough mix, upload it, and then have LANDR do all the hard work for you. And they've updated their AI mastering algorithm, so it sounds better than ever now. I actually used their services for my recent EP release called Alien Friends by Philia, my artist name. They are giving away a great deal with their LANDR Studio, which provides access to the entire LANDR platform, including their plugins like Vocalign Project 5, and the LANDR FX suite with lots of effects you can use in your productions. LANDR Studio also includes a special deal with that monthly mastering I mentioned, using sample credits, unlimited distribution, so they can upload your music to Spotify and other places, unlimited file storage in the cloud, and other remote collaboration tools. There's a lot included in their LANDR Studio. It starts just at $12.50 a month, and you can get 15% off 12 months or even their monthly plans with LANDR Studio. You can grab this special 15% off deal by using the discount code GetLanDRLive15OFF. That's the number 15. All capital letters, GetLanDRLive15OFF. That's LANDR, LANDR.com. Make sure you grab this special deal before it expires. Check out the link in the show notes for more details. Just go click that and check out LANDR. Give it a try. It's only $12 a month starting out, so I highly recommend their mastering service as well as some of the other things they offer. And check it out. Without wasting more time, let's jump back into this episode with Rob. Yeah, so you grew up playing guitar, it seems like you play a lot of instruments. I see you playing keys, I see you playing toilet paper rolls, like playing all kinds of stuff.
Well, I used to also play in like the piano in restaurants and do like brutal 5-hour sets, like it's just in the background in restaurants just to earn a bit of money. That got pretty old pretty quickly, having to play like Rocket Man by Elton John about 18 times in an evening. So I sort of gave that up after a year or so. But yeah, it was I think it was during the pandemic where I switched from Logic to Ableton, and
so it's pretty recent then.
Yeah, it's quite recent, and I was it was something about Ableton that switched my mindset. And I can't quite figure out what it was, but I think maybe it's because it's everything is very flat and very square, and it just sort of made more sense visually, and all the sort of audio warping and the sort of spreadsheet style of it just appealed to my brain, and for some reason that's when I started to make videos.
Yeah. To me, Ableton feels like Legos. It just has like all these like colorful building blocks that you can piece together.
That's a good way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I didn't realize you were that new to Ableton, which surprises me after watching a bunch of your videos, because it seems like you go all in with the audio effects.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of finding like really raw, almost bad sounds, just like trying to make them better somehow. Even if you have like a one shot, like I think I made a video with where I was pinging like a stretchy band to make like a one shot, and then with a one shot you can make a pad, you can make any kind of sound, and it's just that really interests me. Like I've got it isn't sorted out yet, but I was going to make a video with Yamaha, the Yamaha pianos, where I do like a Jamie Cullum style thing where I'm going to make an entire track just out of the piano body and the piano itself, and that kind of thing of like finding a good kick out of something and then finding a good snare and layering it and maybe sampling the strings inside the piano and making a pad, or just like that excites me about production. And that's it's a very sort of love-hate thing for some people on social media, but I just find it really fun. So that's my sort of goal with those videos, really.
Yeah, it's brilliant because it gives you an organic sound using samples that nobody else has made before. I mean, I'm sure people have taken rubber bands and flicked them into a mic and made it a kick drum like you have, but it's not going to sound exactly like that rubber band you used. So
yeah, exactly. And one thing that I find funny as well is like if I scroll through samples that I love, they always sound really boring scrolling through them to any other listener. But I love really dry, sort of organic, like woody snares, rims, and sort of almost uninteresting drums. But I feel like it's the way that you utilize them and layer them and put them in your projects that is what brings them to life. I'm not really a fan of like scrolling through, I don't know, Splice or somewhere and hearing all these huge processed sounds. And I'm sure that when you're selling sample packs, it sounds great to scroll through these like libraries of huge layered explosive sounds. But to me, I sort of like to have them start off really boring and then sort of bring them to life in the beat, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Not to go off on a
Yeah.
tangent, but I've been really surprised with how many splice samples. I'm not trying to sound like a snob or anything, but how many splice samples that haven't been very well EQ'd or processed. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of great sounds in there, don't get me wrong, but like even simple things like not putting a high pass filter on like a snare or something, where it has like
Yeah.
a lot of muddy below like 100 hertz. I was like
Yeah.
kind of surprised by that.
Yeah,
So
it's a weird one. Like, I've heard splice samples like in huge hits, like full samples, like loops that haven't been transposed, they haven't been stretched or anything. That it's just like the exact sample from Splice. I think one of them was "What Do You Mean" by Justin Bieber was one, or a couple on his latest album. And I've been scrolling through Splice and I just hear the exact sample, and I think, well, that's fine. But I wonder if you're an emerging artist trying to find a sort of a single that is your single.
yeah.
And I think maybe it can be a bit dangerous because I used a loop on a video ages ago, and someone said, "Oh, this is the loop for something song." I had no idea what it was, but I searched it, and it was a song that had like 100 million streams, and it was the exact same sample. And I was like, "Well, that's a bit risky."
That same exact thing happened to me. It was my track called "Funk It Up" a while ago. Like the lead, it was like a 4-bar line of horns. And literally after I released it, like 2 days later, I was on Spotify on the Discover Weekly, and some random song came on. It was like the same hook, same chorus line, and I'm like, shit. Never doing that again.
It is so risky, but I like I mean, the only reason why I started making my own, I made my own sample packs, and
yes, let's talk about that. You sounded great. I listened to the preview. I haven't had a chance to download and play them yet, but
oh, thanks, man.
You have the guitar one is your newest one, right? The guitar pack.
Yeah, it was hard making the guitar one because I've got I'm getting more into bigger writing sessions and things now, and so I thought, well, I want to make the guitar pack as good as possible, but then I've also sent this guitar pack to friends of mine, like bigger writers in the industry, who are writing over a couple of them. And I think, well, then if they use them, should I then take those loops out of the guitar pack? And because like you sort of don't want to create the same issue that we were just talking about, but with your own music, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it was a bit harder to do that one, but the drum pack is done really well. And it was quite strange because I never knew that I had an ear for drums. Although I love making drums because I could never play drums growing up because they were too loud. and my parents didn't like them very much. And so I was sort of living through my drum fantasies as a producer. And it wasn't until like my audience on social media started commenting like, oh, I could recognize a Rob Late beat anywhere. And I found it really interesting. And I was like, oh, that's strange. And then I sort of learned through other people that maybe drums was like a thing for me, if that makes sense.
I would say it is. Yeah.
And one thing that I always love about drums is good tops. So like sort of like things that you sprinkle in the background that give it some flavor, you know, like without a kick or a snare.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I always found quite difficult to find on Splice without finding like a good sample and then just chopping it up so much that I might as well have just made my own in the first place. And so I put a bunch of tops in that sample pack. And it's funny because lots of my friends and fellow producers say like, just finish the damn packs and put them out and you'll make more money, just maybe, you know, not putting so much effort into them. But I can't do that. Like I have to be really anal about it. And I have to think like, would I use this thing? Like, would I use that? Would I use this? And went back through all my projects and social media videos and just pulled out all the kicks and snares that I'd made myself and processed, and just it's been really fun. It's been quite an interesting experience now using my own samples in songs now. So it's a lot quicker to find things that I like.
Yeah.
As your tastes change, now I want to make another drum pack because I've made a lot more stuff since. So maybe.
Yeah, that's a brilliant piece of advice for people listening, and something I should take more often for myself is going back through your existing previous projects and just start capturing samples that you've already processed and organize them into, say, your user library or wherever.
So I started making sample packs, I think, when my Instagram was about at 30,000 or something. But I realized that I could have done that when it was much lower. I mean, it doesn't matter at all, because like if your goal is to try and reach people via social media, and you're making content and you're checking the analytics and you're improving each one that you do, and you found your sort of what you like to do, then it makes sense to have a store and to have things ready. And then if one of your videos does take off, everyone's hitting your link and buying your stuff. And it's just like, I think that everyone should do it, because like if you have loads of beats that are just on your hard drive, you probably already have like a dozen sample packs that you can sell. So it's just I think that people, especially during the pandemic when, you know, the creative industry was struggling, I feel like any way that producers can help to sustain themselves financially is like is definitely something that I want to try and encourage people to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Thankfully, we're starting to have shows again, so people don't have to eat oatmeal for 2 years anymore and try to survive off of streaming royalties. But
oh God, yeah.
But are you playing shows? Are you doing any shows in the future? Have you thought about that?
I always thought that like it's a weird position to be in. Maybe not in 2022, but like if you're a producer but you're not a DJ and you don't really play live, then where is your space in terms of like an artist? And like you think then like what purpose would you have with a label if you don't tour? Are you just going to sign singles to spurious labels for the rest of your life? And but I would be interested in maybe doing like a sort of disclosure type thing, or like a Mira Mesa type thing of just like having some live drums and picking out what you can play live and having the rest on a backing track. And it's I've been toying with the idea, but I spent the last 6 months or so like just concentrating on refining sounds to work with other artists, really, and with being like a wannabe social media figure, accidental. I put loads of effort into that as well, and I haven't done much of my own music over the past few months, which I'm hopefully trying to get back into. But there's so many different things to do, and I'm not the most organized person, so like I always try to keep all my sort of goals as simple as possible. Maybe it's time for a personal assistant or something, but it's you know, like with all the working with artists and teaching and sample packs and all these things going on, it's like I think like original music in terms of for myself and my artist project is it's taken a bit of a back seat, which is a shame, but maybe one day.
No, I hear you, man. Sometimes being organized is a struggle, especially when you're balancing all these projects that are somewhat related with like being creative, being an artist. I've been trying to be more intentional with the whole Pareto principle. Are you familiar with that? The 80-20 rule?
No, what's that?
It's like,
teach me.
It basically says that roughly 80% of the outcomes that you have come from 20% of the effort.
Okay.
So if you can do, 20% of the effort and get 80% more out of it, then that's what you're aiming for as far as like your business efforts and prioritizing your time.
Yeah, so is that like a sort of working smarter, not harder kind of attitude?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure the role goes deeper than that, but that's all I know.
Like producers especially, like most writers that I know that have always been in the background of big records and the background of production or ghost production, they're always really sort of introverted and quite shy, really. I think sort of creative people, I'm generalizing here completely, but like a lot of creative people aren't particularly business minded. It's a learning curve for me to like open a store and to do like paid partnerships and things. And I think now I finally got used to the whole sort of like knowing your worth as a producer and like what you should charge people and how you can up your cachet by doing other projects. And it can be quite stressful, but it's definitely better than, I don't know, another job, because I've got no other skills. So I've got to stay in music, really.
That's okay though, because you're pretty good at it. So just
thank you very much.
Keep staying in that lane, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people too. So,
thank you. That's very kind.
We were talking earlier before we jumped on this call about experimenting with your productions and like what your workflow looks like. I'd be curious to maybe nerd out a little bit about that. That was something you mentioned.
It's kind of like, this probably sounds cliche, but it's like my projects become so messy because they're like just a canvas of where I just try the weirdest things.
Perfect.
But then like most of the sounds end up not being used, or if I happen to find a sound that's good but doesn't suit what I'm doing, I'll just sort of bounce it and freeze it, and I'll like freeze a melody I might have made, and then a one shot of the melody. I'll save them for later if I want to use them for something else. It's hard with the videos because I end up sort of, because I produce for other people, I can't use their songs in videos, so it's only once in a while where I can actually, where I make something that's interesting enough to break down in a video, and I don't really want to get to the point of where I'm making music just for the sake of the content, if you know what I mean. I want to sort of have something I've been working on, because that's working smarter, not harder, right? If you already have something there that's worth breaking down. And I think like for that tube video, I think I ended up having this beat, but then I replaced some of the sounds with those sort of like manipulating the sound of a tube for a bass and all this stuff. And it's I'm getting to the point now where my following has grown to the point of where I don't really need to try so hard to push out loads of videos and gimmicky sort of DIY stuff so much now. But I do love finding weird sounds. It's hard to explain, but like most of my ideas come from when I'm outside of the studio, so I'm doing grocery shopping or chores or whatever it is. I have a playlist, like, you know, when you have a song that you love and you press play radio on Spotify, so it's the radio of that song, and it recommends like a playlist of songs similar to that one you're listening to. So I always do that. I'll like play through all these songs and they'll sort of go around my brain or whatever, and then one song will come on where like a snare is in an odd position on purpose, and like the whole song might not be to my taste, but there's one thing in it like, oh, that's a weird noise, and it sort of stops me in my tracks, and then I'll just save it to my own playlist and then think that'd be cool to come up with an idea similar to that sort of thing, where I'll hum something into my dictaphone on my phone. So when I come back to the studio, I have a bunch of things to look back on and get inspired by, because unless an artist comes in with an idea of what they want to make, I'm not really a fan of just sitting in the studio empty-handed, just fishing for ideas. Like, I find that kind of boring sometimes. Yeah. I don't know. It can be boring.
No, definitely. I've done the same thing where I'll just like voice record on my phone, like, or hum a melody when I'm like, you know, on the subway or something, just coming up with ideas.
And also what's interesting as well is that because digital distortion is so like in right now, and we've sort of gone past the phase of things being so perfect, you have people like Lauv recording the sort of lead line in his songs through his iPhone, and you have like, you know, Julia Michaels singing her whole album through an SM7B laying on a couch, and it's sort of like you don't really need to. The bar to entry for making records is so much lower now compared to, I guess, like 15 years ago, where you had to pay for a studio to actually cut a record. So I just love the fact that now you have 15-year-olds in their bedrooms just like making good stuff. Yeah, and it's so cool to me, and I wish that like that had been the case for like, you know, for much longer. But it's
That's a good point. Like, growing up, if we had iPhones, like the newer iPhone microphones are not bad.
Yeah, and what's funny is when I'm doing my videos, sometimes I have a mic in the background where it's recording some of the sounds, but sometimes when I drag the videos onto my computer, I'll just cut the audio from the camera, from the footage, instead of what the mic was recording, just because it's like a few minutes quicker just to use the audio that's already there. Yeah. And it's like, once it's processed and layered, or, you know, like you've got all the transients right, and maybe you might replicate it, move it slightly, and then use like R-bass or something so you've got one low end layer and one transient layer, and you listen to it and you just think, well, that's fine. It sounds fine. And it's going to be, if it will be on Spotify or something, it will be crushed anyway with all the compression. And once everything's together, for me, I think as long as the lead vocal in a track, because I love good vocals and like pop music, and I think that's obviously important to be very pure and dead sounding and perfect. But when it comes to production, it's just like there's no rules, and that's what I enjoy about it. And it's quite funny because I don't get much hate on Instagram or TikTok, but surprisingly, one thing that I always see is comments from sort of self-proclaimed like sound audio professionals, whatever, and they'll say like, you probably should have just taken the lower mids from that bass out just a bit. And I'm just like, bro, there's like hundreds of people or thousands of people who are enjoying it.
Yeah,
it's a piece of social media content. Like,
it's really funny, actually. I think that's hilarious. There's always trolls out there, and most of the time, people who are just like trolling feeds and talking shit and negative comments are usually some of the saddest people. So like, I don't know. A lot of times when I see people like roll up in my feed or on my comments and say something negative, I just kind of laugh at it and just move on.
Yeah.
You kind of have to, because as an artist...
I used to reply.
I did too. And that doesn't work.
No.
It never ends well.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like one other comment I get quite a lot is not to dwell too much on negative things, but...
That's fine. Go for it.
A lot of the time I get comments from people saying, wow, this must have taken you so long to do, laughing emoji, or comments of that nature. And I sort of want to say, well, yeah, it did take a long time to do, but it also has 1 million views. So like,
so,
you know,
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it. It's kind of worth it, you know? So but it's, what I find that is they're comments from people that perhaps are afraid to put the work in themselves. And they see this thing that's, you know, been made through great effort. And it's sort of like a mirror being turned on them to say, you don't want to put the work in, do you? So I'll tell this guy he's put too much work into this.
You should be lazier like me. You should just not put as much effort into his music like me, and then he'll go places. Yeah.
Pro tip.
Well, maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the details. I mean, you shared like the existential part of the process as a creative and making these videos and things. Do you have some favorite go-to Ableton devices that are specific, that say when you're morphing a sample that you created?
So I'm pretty bare bones when it comes to plugins. But I just always like to use I love to stretch things and just to try and use things unconventionally. Like I learned through a friend of mine was Sasha Sirota, who works with like Pooh Bear and Skrillex.
Yeah.
And I'm going to visit him in Miami next month, and he they mentioned about like things like on a vocal using the Beats algorithm with the like forward looping to create like gate effects on things.
Yeah. And
just like weird things that you wouldn't think, just weird ways of doing stuff. And like I love things like operator and wavetable and autopan, and all. It seems like all their stock plugins are the best of any DAW that I've used, and I feel like having someone have those tools to begin with when they first start learning something, or they have access to them already.
Yeah.
I think it's always a bit of someone who's been suckered by marketing a bit when if someone buys Ableton and next on their list is spend $1,000 on essential plugins. It's just like to me that's sort of like a kid getting a gym membership, and he's like, right, gym membership done, protein shake done, let's get some steroids now. It's like, well, no, you should work at the basics first, and then when you're ready, like move on to like Pro Q or something that might have a bit more depth to it, you know.
Put the natural effort in before you go to steroids. Yeah. Moral of the
exactly.
story.
And I think that Ableton is by far one of the most useful in terms of stock plugins and effects. I think because the people that that design these things like maybe understand perhaps how my mind works more as well. Like I feel like for like electronic production and experimenting, Ableton seems to be great for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of great audio effects, and even in the packs too. I recently did a packs episode, and just kind of dove through a lot of the audio effects racks in the packs. There's so many gold options in there that I've recently discovered. There's just an endless amount of tools.
And they're all like low on the CPU as well. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like if you want to load up 10 instances of Omnisphere, then go for it.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. good luck. And I always try and get the most out of what I've got. Like I'm still running a 2017 MacBook Pro, and the only reason why I got a new iPhone was for the video quality. And my old, I had an iPhone 10 for years, and I always try and get the most out of things. And so it always infuriates me when, like there's someone asked me the question of like, what are your five favorite plugins that I should buy or something? And I look at their profile and they're, like a kid just starting out, and they've already spent all their pocket money on Ableton, and it's just the same response. Like, you can make a good record with nothing but stock plugins, and until you do that, I wouldn't even don't even bother, because there's so much to discover. And I made the mistake myself as well. Like when I first started, I bought like a Waves bundle, and I bought some Universal Audio, all this stuff, and I realized at the start I didn't really need it. And I feel like Ableton is there for that kind of person from the start, if that makes sense. They offer the most conclusive package of things to experiment with, and that's probably why I feel a bit of zen with Ableton.
Yeah, I went through a season where I just forced myself to only work with 10 stock devices in Ableton, and that's all I could use for my mixing, for my sound design. And it really helped me learn those 10 things really well. And I actually felt like I was more creative because I had to take
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for anybody out there, try it.
Like the same with, it's like the production version of songwriting or equivalent, where you just have 3 chords over and over and over again, and then you force yourself to make the melody interesting to keep the song interesting throughout. Because like most songs, like what was it? Sorry by Justin Bieber is just 3 songs the whole way through with a 4th chord every so often. I think Julia Michaels wrote that as well, and it's like it forces you to not have to make such like drastic changes for a pre-chorus or for a chorus. If you can keep the song interesting, just having this really basic loop in the background, it's such a good like way to get better at writing vocal melodies and switching up pacing of lyrics and stuff. And using like only a few plugins is awesome as well.
Yeah, you have some fun studio toys as well outside of the box. What are some of your go-tos when it comes to playing hardware?
Yeah, so I've the only sort of semi-analog thing that I have at the moment is a Novation Peak, and I meant to put Novation on the on my website banner, but I think there was no room.
I think it was on there actually. I think I saw it.
Oh, was it?
I think it's on the website. Yeah, somewhere. It might not be at the top, but
okay. Well, they sent me a Peak synthesizer, and it's funny because one thing I wanted to do was whenever I had a deadline for a track for wherever it was going, I'd be tweaking automation up until the final hour, like changing things that no one really cares about. And I thought I have to try and get over this like time wasting OCD. And I feel like a good way of doing that is like dialing in a sound from scratch on a synth, on a external synth, recording it in audio, and then once you have it roughly where you want it, to just like you have it in audio, so you can't really go back anymore.
Yeah.
And the same with plugins, where you like get a sound roughly how you like it, and then print it, and then start processing again if you want to. Again, a good thing about Ableton is like I'll always create like a sound, and then I'll freeze it or just resample it, and then if you just like put it on the complex algorithm and just knock it down like 2 or 3 semitones, it just gives it like a whole different body. And so I do that a lot with trying to get like a cool like bass, as in BASE, like sound for a track, just to make it sound a bit more unique, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I freeze and flatten and resample all the time. Good way to commit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw, this is kind of off topic, but I saw you used a bass plugin that was, you like recorded your vocals and then created some like beefy bass texture out of it. I don't know what plugin that was, but I was like, damn, this sounds.
Oh, so it was like a sort of vocal one shot, you mean? And then you
made it into a bass line. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's like I think it was a Waves plugin, R bass, which just adds all the sort of low frequencies to something.
That might have
there might be something better to use, but that's just what I've got, and it seems to work. And or something like I've been using Rift a lot recently,
I keep getting ads on Facebook and Instagram for that.
Oh, really?
I need to try it. Yeah.
Yeah, someone recommended it, and it's like Saturator on steroids. It has lots of things that I don't really need, but it has quite interesting algorithms in it. And but I think for that, the bass thing, it was just like another lesson to people of like a bass is just a certain number of frequencies, isn't it? So like if you can just give it some body with a saturator, pitch it down. I think I pitched it down like 2 octaves, and then EQ'd it so you couldn't really hear the human aspect in the voice. So, it wasn't there was no like peaks or anything. And just keep processing it until it sounds like a real bass. And then you get people commenting funny things like, and here I am just having spent all my money on like sub bass plugins or something when I could have used my voice.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's interesting. Like I don't really expect someone to do that because it probably takes longer to do that. And for most of the time, I don't do that for my own songs, but it's just interesting to know that you can, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said earlier, nobody's going to have that exact sound.
Yeah.
Makes you unique. I know we're getting closer on time. I want to respect your time and everything, but
no, it's fine. I'm free.
Sweet. One thing we were talking about in our emails earlier was imposter syndrome and artists staying focused on their vision. So I'd be curious to hear some of your thoughts expanding on that.
Yeah, so that can relate to like any career, or like especially social media. Like when I started, I was always in my own head about who was watching. Like I had my rock friends, my EDM friends, my parents, my colleagues or whatever. And so I sort of tried to please everyone, which is a guaranteed way to fail, basically. Like the same as trying to not focus on what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And I used to look at successful people and like assume that they're just a different breed of human, really. But then I sort of realized that the only difference between them and me is just like 1,000 tiny steps, really, and laser focus to like each piece of the puzzle, like step by step, day by day. Not that I'm already where I want to be, but like I've at least now had a taste of, oh, if I do that, then I can achieve this. And then if I do that, then this will happen. I'm realizing that you can actually make progress. It kind of irritates me how people are put off by the creative industry because they assume it's really oversaturated and it's hard to get into. But I sort of personally think that the tipping point of success in the creative industry is just much further into your journey than a regular job where you would, I don't know, do an exam, graduate, do an interview, get a job, get a promotion.
Yeah.
Whereas in music, it's ups and downs to face a million rejections, and it's on you to seek information to, you be your own boss and your own marketing manager and your own biggest fan. And I think far too many people just give up.
Yeah.
After like a few failures, and like when you feel like you aren't getting anywhere, depending on your personality, if you're introverted or something, you'll always feel like an imposter until things start to go right. Like, so I actually got invited to Colorado next month to work with the Chainsmokers.
Oh, sick.
And and same with Sasha Sirota in Miami, who's I'm hoping that he'll introduce me to Pooh Bear, who lives in Miami as well. But
very cool.
Fingers crossed for that. And I sort of have a feeling of what the hell am I doing here? Like, how did I manage to sneak into this position? Yeah. Whereas, like, maybe I have no idea what I'm doing, but these people reached out for a reason, and I have to assume that I have something to offer and give it my best shot. And I feel like imposter syndrome is just it's probably more rife than you would think. But
yeah,
again, like talent, sadly, it's not about talent, is it? Like, I think that's why there's so much average music on the radio, is because talent is nothing without sort of business mind.
Yeah,
like it's why so many DJs have ghost producers, because they're like the face of this sort of outgoing product, and then they have someone who's the nerd behind the scenes making all the sick drops for them, and it's
yeah.
So I think it's quite prevalent. And then someone like Avicii as well, like who, the only way that he could have confidence on the stage was just to drink loads. And it's again, like an introvert making amazing music, being forced into the extrovert lifestyle, and it's you might always feel like an imposter, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's really well said. That's really well said. There's a book called The War of Art. Have you heard of it?
No.
Highly recommend. It's a really, really good book. I'm halfway through it now, and I started about a year ago. I need to finish it, but I got distracted. It talks about dealing with resistance, as he calls it, and he talks about imposter syndrome a lot in the book as well. And he talks about the main fundamentals of resistance is fear, self-doubt, procrastination, and perfection.
Yeah.
And he talks about procrastination is the most dangerous form because it's the easiest to rationalize. So a lot of people who are talented, maybe imposter syndrome actually cripples them to procrastinate because they also start to realize, oh, well, I could just keep putting this off because it makes me feel safer subconsciously, rather than actually just jumping in full force and actually getting it done right away and just putting in the work and effort and not being afraid of the result.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that myself too. Like if I would like work really hard for a number of months, get all these great opportunities, and then I'm sort of sitting there wondering which one to start on first, and then still find myself browsing Instagram for half an hour. And it's just like,
right.
What are you doing? And I suppose, like what you just said, that can be down to a lack of self-confidence in just starting the thing and just jumping in and doing it. And you feel like, you're like, no, it's fine to just browse for a bit. I'm doing market research. I'm browsing Instagram, you know.
Yeah, next thing you know, it's been 4 hours. You're just like on Reels, just scrolling, watching people and their dogs and everything else.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, though. I do love a good dog video on Instagram. So.
Oh yeah. My entire the reason why I like TikTok is because the algorithm has learned that I like all kinds of animals, and then for some reason skateboarding. I can't stop watching skate tricks and stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The algorithm's gotten really good. It's mostly people doing fail videos, like hurting themselves, or like animal videos. It's pretty much everything I get.
Did you know? I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast where they said that the algorithm of TikTok in China is completely different to the algorithm of TikTok in America.
Yes.
And they sort of, I'm not sure if it is a conspiracy theory, but it was almost like their way of dumbing down the US, which is actually a really clever thing if it's true.
It's very smart. No, it is smart. I mean, that's the thing. I actually listen to the Joe Rogan podcast all the time. I don't always agree with everything he says, but he has some really fascinating guests on his podcast.
Yeah.
And but I've listened to several episodes of him talking about the algorithms on social media, and specifically with TikTok in China. And that's a real thing because most of the stuff that they're fed inside of like the Great Firewall of China is they control all the content. So most of it's educational. It's like a lot of really uplifting, like learning science,
like showing skills, and things.
Teaching real skills that are actually going to help people in that society thrive.
And then over here we have people bouncing a ball on like 100 different objects to go into a cup and then celebrating, or just like things that are mindlessly addictive to watch, but they serve no purpose.
Yeah, the Island Boys going viral.
Oh my god, yeah. Those things probably super multi-millionaires now, aren't they? You know.
Actually, I don't think so. They started their own crypto token. It's like $0.000001 US right now, I think.
Going well then.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're thriving these days, but yeah. So what's next for you? Like upcoming projects that you're excited about?
Yeah, so I never wanted to be like a sort of Instagram producer, if that makes sense, like a sort of tips and tricks kind of producer. Like I always wanted to my goal was always to try and make something that could potentially go viral, like to have showing a skill, being filmed well, presented well, a bit of humor maybe or something, and then showing a really decent beat. So like the sort of construction to help the video go viral, but then for the result to be a good sounding song, hoping that it would then go a bit viral and I'd be able to get other opportunities for people reaching out to me. So my goal was to always find bigger artists to work with through my videos and not sort of fall into the here's how you use reverb sort of producer things, which is good because you can gain a big following by being a producer tips kind of, I don't know, like sort of Reed Stefan style, which I do enjoy. So now my goal is to just, which is currently happening, was to use these videos to get the attention of people like the Chainsmokers, for example, and then go and do sessions with them, and now elevate myself to actually getting my fingerprint on good records. Because my goal has always been to, like, this probably sounds really cheesy, but you know, like when you have a song that means a lot to you, and then you hear it again 10 years later, and it's the most powerful drawback of emotion that you ever experience. Like, it takes you back to that time and feeling, and
it's the best.
And I've always loved to have the opportunity to, like, be involved with songs that do that for other people. And the only way you can really do that is obviously by having a massive song and working with people that can contribute towards that. And so I'm just trying to get as many, learn as much as I can from people, like, you know, to try and never be the smartest in the room, to always try and be the dumbest, and to try and learn as much as I can from people. And so I'm going to have less time to make content as going forward with my travels coming up, but I'm just hoping the imposter syndrome goes away when I go to Colorado. Is that where you are now? You said you're in...
I'm in Denver, yeah.
Oh, they're in Aspen. That's where they'll be.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure. I'm still figuring out the area, so I'm not sure exactly how far Aspen is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you do come down to the Denver area, it's awesome. Aspen looks like it's about 3.5 hours from Denver. So as a drive, but Aspen's like way up in the mountains. It's beautiful out there. You're going to love it.
Yeah, that they've hired a house or something for everyone to work in. So I'm looking forward to...
I'm sure it's going to be nice.
The experience, yeah.
You're going to have a great time.
Yeah, I've only ever been to Seattle in the States before. I've been nowhere else in the States. So I'm looking forward to it, to bring in the old British accent there to see what they think.
I think generally people in the US like British accents because for whatever reason, it just sounds more intelligent. I don't know why. Maybe because that's where we're all from, like the origin, going back to the history of the United States.
Maybe, yeah.
But like people who are British, who have British accents, could say the dumbest thing in the world, but it just sounds smarter for some reason to us. I don't know. I'm not the only person that feels that way. I've had conversations with friends.
No, I'm sure, yeah. Well, I do remember being on a bus going to downtown Seattle, and me and a friend were talking about, you know, where should we go? And we were talking out loud. And everyone on the bus was just joining in, helping us, suggesting places to go to. And we felt like it was because we were so obviously British that everyone was enthusiastic to help us out. And so I'm thinking maybe I can use that to my advantage when I go over there again.
Yeah, definitely should. You should.
Yeah, get some free drinks.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you do decide to come to Denver, hit me up. There's a lot going on in the city.
100%, man. That'd be awesome.
You're going to have a great time. Last but not least, maybe tell people where they can connect with you. Where's the best place to meet you? Or
yeah, sure. So it's just on Instagram and TikTok. It's just at Rob Late, ROBLATE. And the funny story is, my surname is actually Early, and that isn't a joke either, which is a family curse because I'm late everywhere. So that's
that's awesome, Rob Late.
So it's just at Rob Late, and forget about Facebook. That's a wasteland. But just come and join the party, as they say.
Right on, man. Yeah, everybody listening, as always, I will include links in the show notes to Rob Early Late, and make sure you go check out his stuff. He makes some great videos. Also, you were talking
so much, man.
You were talking about making a lot of like more fun content for people to digest and not as much like producer tips. But I will say, for anybody listening, if you haven't seen Rob's videos, the way he captures them, you could still pick up tips because he's showing screenshots of like, here's how he used AutoPan for like 2 seconds as he's making the song. So still a great place to pick up new little tips or devices or how he's processing sounds. So check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, check it out.
Or else.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. It was so good meeting you, and maybe we'll get to meet in real life someday.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And you are in London? That's right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I do make it out to London, I may hit you up.
Yeah, 100%, man. You can sleep on the couch in the rain or something.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll just sleep outside in your front lawn. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome, man. It was
Right
great
on.
to talk to you.
Yeah, you too as well. Have a good weekend, and best of luck here in the States.
You too, man. Thanks so much.
Peace. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode. Make sure you give Rob a like and a follow on the social medias. Check out the links in the show notes for more info from this episode. And yeah, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you could just hit that follow button, it would really help me out, help me to make more episodes. Once again, check out LANDR, proud sponsor of this episode. I love their stuff, I love their services. I used their mastering AI service for recent song releases, and it turned out great. So give it a try with a reference track, and you might be very surprised. Go make some hot tracks. I will see you all in the next episode. Later.